Welcome to the How to Raise Money podcast for anyone who wants to raise other people's money for a business or property venture. Right now, there has never been more money on the planet, and there has never been more opportunity. This podcast will help you put the two together. So, if you need money for your business or property proposals from banks, lenders, angels, whales or dragons, this is the podcast for you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the How to Raise Money podcast. I'm Ray McLennan.
And it's with me, Nigel T-Best. Hello, Raymondo. How are we? Are you as optimistic as the chief economist at the Bank of England?
Yes, I am. I think it was Winston Churchill that says, you may as well be an optimist. It doesn't do much good to be anything else, really. But yeah, I think so.
I love it. I love it. You can't beat an episode that takes only about 30 seconds to get a quote from Winston Churchill in there.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay. Yeah. So, we're just thinking, okay, where's the economy going in terms of how to raise money? Ray and I were just talking before we hit record on this particular episode. And we were just thinking, we're looking at the economy. What's going to happen? We've got our crystal ball out, and mine is very cloudy. And Ray, yours is full of the words should, could, maybe, it might, and things like that. So we're trying to get a bit of clarity. And we thought, well, let's just jump in and see what Andy Haldane, the Bank of England economist, is saying. And the headline on this is booming UK economy to outpace the US, says Haldane. So Ray, what do you reckon? Is there any merit to this sort of comment, or is it lies, damn lies, and statistics?
Well, we've mentioned on the podcast before that there is more money in the banks now than there was this time last year. Something like, I think, I should have probably checked this, but 40% more cash in British businesses' bank accounts than there was this time last year, and 30% more in personal bank accounts, equating to something like £225 billion that's in and is not being spent. So if you think about it, when you release the conditions and you allow people to go back out and go back into the economy, then of course they're going to spend, they're going to buy stuff. They're going to, they are going to spend. There's been a lot of money spent on home extensions and, painting and decorating and garden rooms and that sort of carry on. So it doesn't take a genius to work out that when conditions are right, certain things are going to happen. Even the supermarkets know when the weather forecast says it's going to be sunny and bright, they bring in barbecues because they know people will want to buy them. That doesn't take any kind of intelligence. So when it comes to that much money being in accounts, it's going to be spent. And when too much money gets spent, it affects inflation. The question is, can inflation be controlled, et cetera, et cetera? But this being the How to Raise Money podcast, there are people listening to this saying, well, that's all very well, but how does that help me raise money? Well, it helps you raise money by forcing you to think about things. So, for example, if you have property that is unencumbered or it's 30% loan to value, 50% loan to value, then go out and borrow against it. Make it 75% loan to value, get the cash out because the inflation will erode your debt, that sort of thing. If there's that much money in banks, then you should be able to ask for it, ask for other people's money. Look, you've got money in the bank, you're getting 0.01%, whatever. I can give you 4%, 5%, 6% by adding value to a property or a business, So that's, I suppose, where it can help. He also talked about the housing market booming, hiring investment among businesses picking up, and so on. Well, housing market booming is one thing. Getting a tradesman is another. They're already starting to put their prices up. The cost of commodities is already starting to go up. So all of that's going to trickle down and affect inflation. So he's expecting UK to be in double-digit growth figures, because they always talk about percentages. So he talks about a tennis ball bounce as well, which will put them at the top of the G7 growth league. I think it's should, it's always could, should, would.
I mean, Ray,
if you notice these people that make these predictions, they always say, well, this could happen or that could happen. And then if one of the things happens, they then say they predicted it.
Well, exactly. It's why the weather forecast always kind of, and unless it's blindingly obvious, they always say, well, there could be a chance of a shower, maybe some clouds, some sunny spells are expected, and we firmly believe the sun will set this evening. It's all those sort of things telling you kind of nothing. And one of the things that I always love on these is the way that you can take figures and manipulate them into a way of hitting the headline. So if your economy has shrunk by the largest amount, then if, say, everyone started at a baseline of 100 and the UK, let's say, fell to 50, but the other economies still stayed at 100. If we increase by 5, so we go from 50 to 55, we've got a 10% growth. If everyone else increases by 5, so the real actual movement is still 5 for every country, but they've only gone from 100 to 105, that's only a 5% growth. But we went from 50 to 55. We got a 10% growth. We're at the top of the growth league. We're at the top. But hang on a second. Our economy is still, only about half, just over half of what the other economies were. And you look at these things and you've got to look at this, folks, and just sort of say, all right. We fell by the most amount. So any growth level typically will give us a higher percentage growth. But what I like about his article or this report here that we've got is Mr. Haldane has previously warned against pessimistic views of the economy. Absolutely. They are the biggest self-fulfilling prophecies, out there. If the media gets hold of something and says, whatever you do, you don't want to go outside today and buy barbecue stuff because it's going to rain for 2 weeks. Supermarkets will probably say, my goodness me, our barbecue stuff is rotting on the shelves because, everyone's been influenced to not do it. If, why do you get headlines with the newspapers saying heat wave expected? That influences everyone's buying in it, be it positive or negative. So I can understand why when you're trying to manage the economy, you're trying to manage the message that's going out there. Because, when you're talking, Ray, there, inflation is a big issue. And typically you would control it with changes in interest rates and other measures to try and control that. And also you wouldn't want wage push inflation, so everyone demanding more. And as they get paid more, the prices go up, and so they want more again, and you get into this spiral of ever increasing costs for employment, but everything, you think you're going to earn more money, but all of a sudden everything costs more, so better off. All these sort of things, you've got to control these things. You've got to keep it slow and steady. That's what everybody wants. But Ray, you're talking about the amount of money people have got in their accounts. Absolutely, which shows how much we spend on going out to the cinema, to restaurants, to the pub, on holiday. It shows how much money gets spent on those particular sectors. And so if you don't spend it on that and you're still earning money, it might have been 80% during furlough, you may well have, seen some benefit there, and no commuting to the job. No season tickets for your trains or your buses or any of those things. Some people have given up their cars for a year and they're saying, well, I'll buy one in a year's time and things. There's money, Ray, out there. So, do you think it's when somebody comes out talking like this, do you think it's a good time to get that project together, be it for a business or for a property or something along those lines? Ray, are you thinking this is a good time to put your project together, get out there and see who's investing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a good time to do that. It's never a bad idea to make money, is it? It's never a bad idea to develop property. It's never a bad idea to push forward with plans and dreams. But just to touch on something you said earlier on about the article that you'd mentioned about the UK economy outpacing from the Bank of England, we're not the only ones looking to raise money. The Bank of England and the UK government are looking to raise money. Who do they raise money from? Of other investors around the world. They sell bonds at a rate. The British government has famously never defaulted on a bond. So, they're AAA and all that sort of carry on. But if they can then get those bonds sold and then inflation does go up, it actually wipes out the cost of repayment of the loans. So it's one way of recovering the economy at the much higher level. So it's not such a daft idea. And now that they're, I suppose they say, free of the shackles of EU intervention, it gives them a bit more leeway to steer the ship. They're not being held back and restricted by things. But again, I think they're also looking at, has there been an impact on the whole Brexit thing? Well, yes, there will have been, definitely. They'll know more about it than we will, and they won't say so much about it. But I think, a lot of the news these days is all about, it's all about influence and psychological influence, to influence behavior. Whose behavior is being influenced? Is it us? Is it foreign investors? Is it foreign governments? Whatever. It's all about influence. And I always like to look behind, what's behind the headlines, what's behind this. Let's look ahead to, the end of the year or next year or something like that. What's behind all this? That's what intrigues me. But when it comes to raising money, they will be raising money. Your other question about, is it a good time? Of course, it's a good time. It's always a good time. There's always money around no matter what. In 2007, 2008, there was still money around for the right thing. Same amount of money is out there. In fact, now there's more money now out there than was before. And it's always looking for a home, and it will go where it can be looked after. It's as simple as where it can be looked after and multiply. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, I would encourage anyone to get their pitch together and to fine tune it and get out there and raise that money.
Excellent. Yeah, good stuff. And Ray, you're so right about the influence, the rise of personal branding, the rise of the influencer. The amazing thing is, over the last handful of years or so, this has really accelerated, and it's the fact that social media is in the hands of everybody that is, I think, to some extent, really frightened governments, because no longer can they control the message that they would want people to accept. So a case in point is coronavirus and the vaccine deniers, the coronavirus deniers, whether you agree with it or not. What they're finding there is that the ability to influence people with a message is very strong. And when you're looking at business sides of things, if people start talking, they always say, when the Daily Mail says it's a good time to do something, that's when you should be backing out of it, because that's when Joe Public is getting involved in things that they perhaps should pause and think, do I have the education behind me to actually take advantage of this? Or am I just jumping in blindly because the newspaper said or the TV said now's a good time to do it? So just a word of caution there. Just make sure that you've got the skills necessary to back that up, or you are with people with the skills. And by that, we don't mean you go and ask the rest of your family if they think that's a good idea, because unless you have an economist such as Andy Haldane in your family, then that might be fine. Or people who invest, if you've got no experience there, it could be a bit of a tricky thing to do. But here, Ray, I don't know if you ever saw it, but I saw an amazing thing about the power of influence and the power of somebody famous who has a following being able to influence a trend and being able to influence a business. And it was at the height of, I think, the Spice Girls, or shortly thereafter. And it was a posh Spice, Victoria Beckham. And she was photographed, she was papped I think is the phrase, isn't it? The paparazzi got her snapped this coming out of some sort of beauty salon. And the genius here was that she had bought some products in this salon and was walking out. But the genius was the bag was a clear plastic bag. So the photo showed the products and what she bought. And one of the products, so this thing said, I hope I've got the story right because I love the story. I think it's amazing. It was for Saint-Tropez fake tan. And as a result of that, Saint-Tropez suddenly became a major brand and the sales absolutely skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. So if you are thinking, I need to do something for my business, honestly, one of the key things that you can do, that was an unpaid for, very fortuitous bit of product placement that actually sent their sales skyrocketing, which is amazing. But you can now get in touch with these people. You may hate them on Instagram or wherever they may be, and you can ask them to promote your product or service. And you don't have to go to, is it the Kardashians? I've never seen that show. But those sort of people, you don't have to go to the people with millions. You can go to the influencers who may be talking about things in your particular business area or your product with maybe 5,000 to 10,000 followers. And it doesn't cost a lot to be requesting that, get in touch with those influencers, give them a clear set of instructions. I'd like to promote this product or service and see what the effect has on your sales. So if you're looking to raise money and you've got a business and you're thinking, crikey, how do I get out there? I don't understand this social media influencing world. It is something, Ray, I don't know what your thoughts are, but you really need to investigate it because it could be a fantastic way of raising money at the moment. And just as you say, Ray, the economist Andy Haldane is saying a tennis ball bounce back for the economy, a boom in consumer spending. There's going to be stuff out there. So people have got money, they're going to be wanting to spend it. If you're looking to raise money internally in your business, now maybe is the time that you need to up your digital marketing efforts. So they are, I love that Victoria Beckham thing, because I think there were people from the company who said, we couldn't understand how suddenly we were getting phone calls and everyone wanted our products and where was it? And we used to sell, I don't know, 3 bottles every 12 years or something. And now we were selling 10,000 a second or whatever it was. But, those are things that can really, really tap into the way that Andy Haldane's saying the market could go, the economy could go. And if you're wanting to raise some money, maybe it's time that you just sold more of your product by doing some better marketing.
Yep, I agree with that. Always agree with that. As I said before, I went to an event one time. I was speaking for like Scottish Enterprise Agency event. And there are about 100 people in the room and a stage and screens and all that kind of carry on. And I was due to speak, I think it was about intellectual property or something like that. But the guy before me that was on the stage was wearing a suit. He was an accountant or a lawyer or something. And he was droning on about all the things you needed to start your business, to get started, business cards and a contract and a shareholders agreement and, all of that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, and he was talking about, how much a shareholders agreement cost and how much, heads of terms would cost and this would cost. And I thought, that's going to cost you. This was a long time ago. That's going to be about 20 grand you need before you start your business. It's insane. So as he came off the podium to a sort of polite clap halfway down, I said, look, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm just about to say the complete opposite of what you've just said. And he kind of looked at me sort of surprised, but I went up on the stage and I said, okay, that's very great. It's all very well and all the rest of it. I said, but that's going to cost an awful lot of money. And I'm here to say you don't need to do any of that. What you do need to do is get a customer. Get a customer that is not your granny, not your mum, not your friend, someone who's never met you, someone who buys the product, someone or service and likes it. Get someone to buy. That's the start. Focus on that. Focus on making a sale. Because when it comes to raising money, cheapest money you can get is from sales, from either selling your services or selling the goods that you have. So I would always encourage people to look at, is there a way to ramp that up? Is there a way that you can sell more of what it is that you do or what you have? Because that can raise money. And that's good money, cheap money. You got to pay tax on it, but you can mitigate that by many ways to mitigate that. But there we go. So I think I'm done. I think we've talked about Andy Haldane and we've talked about raising money. I don't think there's much more we can add for this bit.
No, only that they're also, if you're doom and gloom about unemployment, I think they were saying as well that the number of vacancies is at an all-time high, in the past 10 years or something as well. So there are jobs out there. Yes, it may not be the job that you want at this moment in time. However, there are jobs, and you can, they always say it's easier to go from one job to another if you wish to. So there's lots of reasons to be positive, lots of reasons. Great stuff, Ray.
All righty. I've been Ray McLennan.
I wondered if you'd remembered who you'd been. I'm still what's he called? Oh yeah, Nigel T-Best. Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll see you soon, folks.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the How to Raise Money podcast. It's made for people who want to raise money as debt or investment equity for their business or property proposal or empire. See you next time, where we can show you how to raise money. There is abundance. There is money enough for everyone on the planet. The question is, who has yours?